Hey everyone, Pugs here with 2 new reviews for y'all. Today I'm covering Grandma's Kisses and Squidville. You know, one of these is an episode that I adore, and one of them is, not that. Can you guess which one though? You know, I feel like it's pretty obvious if you've seen any of my reviews, so I'll just let you guys have fun guessing, I guess. And, you know, as always, just wanted to extend a quick thank you to everyone who's been watching, liking, commenting. Y'all know the drill. You know that I have to say it every single time, so we should all know this by now. And with all that out of the way, you know, let's just get right into these reviews. Well, I ain't gonna leave y'all in suspense for too long, because let me just get it out of the way right now. I'm not a huge fan of Grandma's Kisses, you know, this episode. In fact, I wouldn't really call myself a fan of this one at all. I wouldn't go so far as to say that I dislike it, though, because that's something different. So, you know, let's just get to talking about it. And I guess I'll just start with my main gripe with this episode. And my main problem with it is that it's immensely frustrating and, in my opinion, kind of out of character. The people at the Krusty Krab teasing SpongeBob is annoying and unpleasant to watch, you know, straight up. And, you know, it's perhaps our first instance of Bikini Bottomites being jerkwads, something that I've basically never been a fan of, even though it keeps being used frequently. But, yeah. And the out of character refers to SpongeBob in this episode. So, like, so far we've seen SpongeBob perfectly content in what others perceive as childishness. So I don't really see him being bothered by something like being kissed by his grandmother. Like, the movie did a much better job at making a believable plot centered on his insecurities about being childish, since it was, you know, actually tied to his job at the time. Here, it just feels like it comes out of nowhere. But that's just me, I guess. And anyway, I know the episode is, you know, doing this on purpose, but SpongeBob acting out of character in this episode, and, you know, I'm talking about him trying to act like an adult now, is not really enjoyable to me. Like, there are a couple jokes here and there that are funny, I will admit, but overall it doesn't really hit for me. And also, like, the whole plot of this episode is just kind of dumb to me, because who publicly shames someone for receiving affection from their family? Like, I've never seen that in my life. I've seen people on Twitter argue about whether being kissed by your parents is appropriate, but, like, no one is denying that affection is a good thing, so I'm lost. And this plot confuses me. And also, I thought there was, like, a common understanding that we all kind of, like, get the feeling of being, like, babied by our grandparents. Like, why is this an issue again? This episode just, like, feels like the plot to a show set in, like, high school or something, not adulthood. It just doesn't really fit the vibes of this cartoon, in my opinion. And the ending of this episode is funny, I will give it that, like when SpongeBob has his breakdown. But then, of course, it's kind of ruined by the stupid plot again, with somehow Squidward and other Krusty Krab customers, like, getting the win. First off, why are they stalking SpongeBob? Let's start there. Like, and second off, I'm choosing to believe that this is one of those episodes where we as an audience understand that SpongeBob is, like, the true winner here, because he has a family who bestows affection on him, while clearly everyone else has miserable lives if they're going to make fun of him, and, you know, if they're going to follow him for no reason. Like, don't you guys have jobs? Like, where's the employment? Anyway, because, you know, if the episode is not meant to be that way, like, what is the point? Like, if that's not the point of the episode, then what is, you know? So, those few things aside, this episode is truthfully rather dull. You know, like I said before, there's only a few jokes here and there that get a rise out of me. Like, you know, the freeform jazz joke, like, that's always great. And so I feel pretty meh whenever I watch this episode, which is rarely. That's also why this review is pretty short, because there's not much else for me to say here. I don't think it's a bad episode, at least with my optimistic / hopefully factual view of the ending, because if the ending is supposed to be taken literally, like where SpongeBob's supposed to actually have lost in the end somehow, then this episode would definitely be bumped down a tier immediately. Like, there's no question about that. Because, you know, even while this episode is dull, it isn't unenjoyable, so I see no reason to put it lower than my okay tier, where it comes in with a score of 6 out of 10. Fresh off the heels of that not-so-great episode, we've got an episode that I only feel positive about in Squidville. So, yeah, I really like this episode, and I'm excited to talk about it. Honestly, I'm surprised that SpongeBob SquarePants got away with showing an explicitly segregated community. And I'm even more surprised that they didn't end up using this episode to teach children about racism. And I am perfectly fine with that. Okay, let me tell you that right now. In fact, I'm more than fine, actually. SpongeBob SquarePants is my escapism. I'd really rather not have to face the problems that I already deal with, you know? And this episode is about diversity, and I think that's a much better way to tackle something bordering the line of racism or any kind of exclusionary policies. That's not to say I dislike squirrel jokes. I actually do like what squirrel jokes did, and I'll get to that episode eventually. Is that season 2 or season 3? I don't know. Whatever. I think it's season 2. But anyway, that's enough seriousness out of me. Let's just get to the episode for real. So this episode is really freaking funny. The whole running joke with the reef blowers is gold, especially at the beginning. I think my favorite bit of humor in this episode is Squidward's declaration to SpongeBob and Patrick. Like, it's just so absurdly, like, long and detailed and yet believable for someone to say in the heat of the moment. And then, like, the fact that the TV guy comes out and, like, says the exact same thing with some funny interference by Squidward, you know, to make sure that he says, 4-way instead of 3-way. Like, that's even better. And, you know, seeing Tentacle Acres honestly leaves me with, like, so many questions, especially once, like, House Fancy airs. Like, I have to ask, are all squids, like, the way Squidward is? Do they all live in these houses? Do they all care about art? Is this a genetic thing? So many questions. No matter the answer to these questions, it's unquestionably enjoyable to see Squidward find excitement in all of these mundane things, such as canned bread, which, first off, that's disgusting. Anyway, this episode has a clear direction for anyone older than like 7. You know that Squidward's going to end up bored here, but you enjoy it anyway. Or at least I do. Predictability is not always a bad thing, and I quite enjoy how this episode plays out. You know, the montage is a great way of showing how I feel at college. I mean, how Squidward feels as his repetitive days drag on. And also, has anyone seen The Good Place? If you have, then maybe you know why I'm thinking of that show when Squidward bemoans about living in too much paradise. Hopefully that's not spoilers. Anyway, once Squidward finally snaps, this episode returns to the usual, you know, SpongeBob chaos, and I love it. So, fun fact that is relevant here, okay, fun fact, Squidville is the first episode to show the use of Spongemonger, aka like the most famous SpongeBob chase scene soundtrack after Grass Skirt Chase. I'm pretty sure that was probably more popular. Spongemonger is probably my second favorite though, probably, because I like Porous Pursuit more as a chase track. I don't know, but like Clownfish Capers, like it could be gunning for that second spot, and you know Slide Whistle Stooges as well. Okay, that's all beside the point. I will link all of those though, all the nice rips of those songs, because I love SpongeBob original music. I do. I love it a lot. Anyway, let me get back to it. So, seeing Squidward going crazy with the same reef blower he criticized SpongeBob and Patrick for using earlier, with, you know, the townspeople, like, playing his bit of the whole scene is great. The townspeople's devilish little smiles when they suggest that Squidward doesn't have to live there is, like, a great bit of subtle comedy, especially once, like, those smiles are, like, wiped off his faces when Squidward's like, yeah, I don't have to live here. And then SpongeBob and Patrick's entrance into the second part of this episode is great, even if they are limited in their appearance. And, you know, all in all, I just love everything about this episode. It's just too funny. And to sum everything up, I really like this episode. I have no problems with it. You know, it's funny, it's got a good message, and there's even some wholesomeness stuck in there. So that's why this episode is being put in my amazing tier, coming in with a score of 9.1 out of 10. As always, I just wanted to end with some closing thoughts of mine, though I really don't have many. So this is going to be a really short review, isn't it? Because I don't think I had much to say about Grandma's Kisses, which shortened this whole thing. But yeah, so I don't have much to say. I guess like Grandma's Kisses was a little bit of a dip, but it looks like we're going back up in quality with Squidville. So, you know, that's nice to see. You know, it was nice to go on my little music tangent in Squidville because I really do love the SpongeBob music, and apparently it's been a really good year for SpongeBob music. I don't know, I just keep seeing new like rips being uploaded like all the time, which is fun for me because I make like a whole little playlist of SpongeBob soundtrack music and I use it to study, so that's a fun fact about me. But yeah, I guess I will go ahead and end this review here since it looks like I have nothing more to say, and I will see you guys next time.